is the calendar. It's the second reading of the district calendar, and Chief Human Resources Officer Dr. Kevin Ayton will be here to kind of walk us through a little bit about the decision making on this calendar. This is an action item, so I will entertain a motion at this time.
I move that the Board of Education of Wall County School District 6 approve calendar option 1 for the 2015-16 district calendar as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Dr. Ayton, excuse me, take it away.
Thank you, President DeWitt, Superintendent Eads, and members of the Board of Education. I'm sorry to give my regrets to Ms. Otto. She's under the weather, or she would again be here this evening. So we will, again, I pass along her thanks and our work in this collaborative process that brings together teachers, classified staff, administrators across our district to come up with a calendar option that fits everybody. Dr. Richard, we made the change. We added the January 5th to option 1. Thank you for that catch. Appreciate it. It takes all of us to do this important detail-oriented work. So we did make that change. But please know that once you approve this, then what that does is we go back and really establish a calendar for about 1,000 other employees across our district. And also, for the first time since I've been part of this process, I'm bringing you a unanimous option. And I think that also speaks, you know, about where the committees work and their collaboration. So if that's really it, you guys asked some good questions last time. We talked through it. We talked about days, and the committee does recommend unanimously option 1. And I'm available for any questions you may have or any comments you've heard in this time from the community or other stakeholders.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ayton. Comments or questions from board members? Dr. Richard.
Just a thank you to you and the team again. It is not often that you bring us on a calendar something as unanimous as this.
Right.
And it certainly hits the board's prime objective is to create contiguous learning opportunities for students. And so you've chunked them well and still gotten in the vacation days that we all expect and want. So thank you so much for your work on this, especially with the CMAS testing heading our way and seemingly fluctuating. I think you worked hard and worked well to get that done.
Well, and this option does allow some teacher choice and gives us another day in that window. So we feel pretty positive about that. Thank you. And I'll pass that along to the committee for sure.
Yes, please do, because those are deep thanks that we offer to each one of the members who contributed.
Thank you.
Mr. Hall.
Mr. Ayton, we just recently, Mr. Eads trying an experiment with some different days and doing some different structuring around.
Correct.
And there were some suggestions. Does this calendar incorporate any of that, or leave the possibility or the flexibility to incorporate some of those ideas?
Yes, it's a huge change that we talked about, granting those days, both that day right before winter break and that day after, and having a flexible schedule, so that our elementary teachers have always wanted in the past. They wanted that day after we came back from winter break to prepare, where our secondary educators really needed the day before because of college entrance requirements and some of that. So that's why we could never bring a unanimous option. Was that secondary won out because of college entrance and getting grades done and the priority of finishing that first semester before we went to holiday break, holiday vacation. And this calendar, in simply moving that day out of March, giving us that extra day, and then being able to say, you know what, elementary, you get that day to get kicked off for second semester. Secondary, you get that day at the end of the semester. So there was some of that collaborative thinking. I think the rest of the calendar, keeping the day in February, the first weekend, and not moving it to President's Weekend, that's been something that's been kind of across the board, that we've felt like we could have moved it around, but we felt like that's the best option, not only to keep families, but to keep involved in parent-teacher conference. So yeah, absolutely. I think that's exciting.
There is only one other point I would make, and again, I'm certainly not an expert in this, but bringing people back for one day in a week on a Friday when they start a new job or a new year just seems absolutely counterintuitive to me, or counterproductive to any. That one day just. Two, you can get something done. One is a waste. You're saying hi to everybody and talking, reminiscing over the summer.
It's a math problem in essence, but between the
Well, then
five-day
we can solve it then, right?
We can't. It's easy. I can't, as much as all of us would like to have 8 days in the week sometimes, there's somebody, as we said in the material, has to come back on a Friday. Between the students, the new employees or continuing employees, because of the way the 4 days and they work out and the way the calendar does, and having the leap day or the extra day doesn't come in August, it comes in February. This next calendar, there's no way around the math unless we really fundamentally change the way we do the beginning of the year. So somebody has to
More of
come
a
back on
comment
Friday.
rather than a question.
I know, and so of course we're making sure that our new employees come back on that Friday. Sorry.
Ms. Elise.
So maybe our theme that Friday can be, okay, get to know each other, and do all that, and then on Monday, we're on it.
Right.
But I did want to thank you for all this collaboration, and hopefully this is a sign to others that we are really here to work together, and it is all of us together, and thank you for all the work that everyone did.
I will. I'll pass that along.
No other comments at this time, so thank you very much, Dr. Aiden. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and go for the roll call vote, Ms. Brand.
Mr. DeWitt,
Aye.
Mr. Haefele,
Aye.
Mr. Hall,
Aye.
Mr. Lydiak,
Aye.
Dr. Richard,
Aye.
Mr. Richardson,
Aye.
Mrs. Solis,
Aye.
and the motion carries 7-0.
Thanks again.
Thank you. The next item is the District Accreditation Rating, and Chief Academic Officer Dr. Stacy Dattery is going to catch us up with that information at this time. Welcome.
Thank you. Let me get this. So thank you, President DeWitt, Interim Superintendent Eads, and members of the school board. It is my pleasure to be able to share with you this information tonight in regard to our district accreditation status. This is an information item as the state does accredit districts. And then the next item around school plan types, that's a district that accredits or approves those school plan types. But this is about our district accreditation rating as provided to us by the state. Just a little bit of background. The state accreditation system actually became law in 2009, and this system creates a method for accrediting districts and providing school plan types to schools across the state. CDE provides districts specific performance indicators and school plan types in which all districts and schools are held accountable. Districts may add additional or other indicators, but they may not reduce those as required by the state. Each district and school is held accountable to these key performance indicators, as I share with you here. These indicators for this past year included academic achievement as measured by the percent of students proficient and advanced on the TCAP, the last year that we had the TCAP, reading, writing, and math, and did not include science this past year. It was also was on academic growth as measured by the Colorado Growth Model in reading, writing, and math for free and reduced lunch, minority students, students with disabilities, ELL students, as well as students have persistently scored in the unsatisfactory or partially proficient categories, and those are referred to as those catch-up kids that need to catch up to be proficient. And that is both in their growth as well as in the growth gaps, those two middle categories. And then for high schools, it is also about post-secondary and workforce readiness, as measured through graduation rates, dropout rates, as well as ACT scores. And that is also disaggregated in those growth gap areas. And so again, this is just kind of a picture that shows those 4 different areas in which I just spoke to. And it shows that in the growth, it's both normative and criterion referenced growth. So districts are accredited by the state in one of 5 categories. Depending upon the percentage of performance indicator points that they earn on the district performance framework. They can be accredited with distinction. Accredited is the second category. The third is accredited with an improvement plan. Fourth, accredited with a priority improvement plan. And the fifth is accredited with a turnaround plan. The latter 2 accreditation levels include varying degrees of intervention directly by the Colorado Department of Education. I thought you might be interested in knowing that in this current year, 2014, out of 182 districts, 27 are accredited with distinction, 101 are accredited, 44 are accredited with an improvement plan, 9 with a priority improvement plan, and just 1 this year with a turnaround plan. And so our district is accredited with an improvement plan, which we will submit then to the state no later than April 15th, 2015. Often I am asked, how are we doing in comparison with other districts that are like us demographically? So I've just done a little bit of homework in that area to provide to you. Pueblo 60 demographically, particularly with minority, non-minority, as well as some of the second language learners, though not as many as we have. They have a priority improvement plan. Oftentimes Denver Public Schools, similar demographics, they have an improvement plan as well, such as we do. And Aurora Public Schools has been accredited with a priority improvement plan. So we are doing well. We continue to beat the odds as we work towards student learning. Another point of pride across the district, and we've had the opportunity to share this with our principals and folks, and so they've been very pleased to see where they're at this year. And as a district where we sit, we actually have the highest number of points that we have had since starting this new accreditation system. So we have 57.1 points, total points, and that is up just shy of 5 points from last year. And you may or may not remember that we've been in an improvement plan. 1 year in 2012, we did actually have a priority improvement plan that year, and that was the only year, and that we had 48.7 points. So that was 3 years ago. So we've almost climbed 10 points since then. So continue just to keep working on that. This shows you the outline of the accountability timeline that the CDE holds schools and districts to. And so school and district leadership began revising their unified improvement plans in August as soon as we got the school and district performance frameworks that were preliminary at that point. It is through this process that the district identifies these successes, continues to think about systems and ways to support student learning and support our building leadership as well as our teachers, and to identify what are the priority performance challenges and the things that we need to address in order to support even more of our students. So that, in a nutshell, just gives you a high-level overview of our district accreditation rating by the state.
Well,
Do you have any questions?
Thanks for that information, and much of it is good news, and we appreciate the hard work that goes into every point on those data charts.
Yeah.
So please extend our thanks. Dr. Richard has a question or comment.
Well, thank you so much also for the information of trend-wise, where have we been and where have we gotten to, and that upward trend consistently is such good news. And thank you also for giving us some reference to other districts that have similar demographics. It helps us to understand how we're doing. So what do you think it is that's leading us to this continual upward trend?
As we've just discussed, as a leadership team and with principals and looking at this, we've had a good share. We are not able to release that until it actually goes forward to the state board, but we've had this data for some time, and we've had many opportunities to really think through what are the things that we want to continue, what are the opportunities at the building level and across our district. We really do know that many of our teachers have such an understanding, though we want to continue to get better, but it's really about what we were even talking earlier tonight about that personalized. They do know their students. They look at that data in many different ways and really understanding what are the things that their students need, how to address those needs, how to think about how they can support their students most effectively as a team and individually. There are many different systems that our schools have put into place, and both around academics as well as behavior. We know that our students, we really have to think about all the different aspects to support students academically, and that includes some of the behavior in different areas. And so our schools have been really thinking about what are some additional climate things that they can be doing to support students using different types of data and not just the academic data that we know though feeds into supporting our students. And so that's another area. that we've had some discussion about. As always, it's kind of a challenge. It continues to be a challenge. It's also an area that we believe that we've stayed as on the cutting edge as possible with the ever-changing landscape of the standards. But we know that the vertical teaming process has really supported our teachers. We always say we'd love to get every single teacher around the table to be able to have that dialogue and to think about, how to use their resources to address those standards, to be able to push kids further, to be able to address kids that maybe aren't quite there yet. But that's always changing. I would say that's as much a challenge as it is a success because of the changing landscape that we keep talking about. And then in really thinking about our priority performance challenge that has been identified for the last couple of years is around the opportunity that we still have with our EL students. And that is still the most discrepant group between EL and non-EL. Last year we embarked pretty fervently, if you will, around district-wide professional learning and then being able to take that and actualize it at the building levels, particularly in grades 4 through 8, where we've seen many of our second language learners stall out in limited English proficient category, kind of at those, just they can speak it. They can speak English, but they're not able to academically be able to be at that level of proficiency, the vocabulary, the things like that. Our teacher, that's a lot to ask. And like I say, not only are our standards changing, but then being able to address the needs of students. So we put a lot of time and energy into that last year, not at all done yet, but we were very pleased to be able to say, we kind of crack open that data for that first time and you say, did we affect more of our second language learners than we had in prior years? And we were very pleased to be able to say, yes, we had. So that was good news. It affirms the work that they did and the way that kind of monitor and adjust last year as we did that work. But that was a significant change in delivery, really, of the instruction for second language learners. So kind of a long answer, but there's been a lot going on. So I hope that kind of helps a little bit.
Those are important things to know. So
you.
thank you. Thank you for that upward trend.
Thanks.
Other comments or questions from the board?